It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Well, things are about to get serious on your Feel Good Breakfast show with our chats around relationships. And this week, we are going to be doing things a little bit differently. Last week, we broke down the concept of deal breakers. And in case you missed that, here's a little recap for you.
Well, I think the most important thing is that they're so personal. It's different for everybody. So to say that there's one set of deal breakers is quite impossible, I would say. But I think that there are ones that are really just an absolute non-negotiable, which is sort of manipulation and abuse, those sort of behaviors. But then the most common deal breakers that I tend to see are sort of people not wanting to share how they're feeling, not wanting to communicate, not wanting to apologize or take accountability. And then I think the most important one, I think, is going to be not being aligned with what your partner wants for the future.
And this week, we are taking it a step further and asking, but is it okay? With the help of our very esteemed counsellor, Kelly Jacobs.
Yes, Kelly, good morning. How are you doing?
Good, thanks, yourself.
Fantastic. I can't wait to get into this. So, Mzansi, let's set the scene for you, right? So, obviously, earlier this week, we learned that pop star Joe Jonas was getting a divorce from his wife of 4 years. That's Sophie Turner. Now, this after she allegedly chose a life of party over family life. Now, this led us to ask the question, is it okay to change your mind or change your deal breakers? Well, we asked our viewers to put through some questions for our panel about your relationship, asking us, is this okay? Make sense, Kelly?
Yeah. Well, we're going to paint a picture, give you a scenario, and I think all of us weigh in on the various scenarios. So scenario number one, I'll quote. It says, I always find my boyfriend liking pictures of random girls in their bikinis online. He likes all their pics and obsesses over their bodies, but never compliments me. Is this okay? Ooh. Is this cheating? Help.
Ooh, bruh. Hey, man, digging holes.
Spicy.
If I may jump in here, I personally do not find that okay. I mean, I think, you know, no matter how confident you are, if your partner is not supporting you in person, but he's doing that to everyone online, for me, that's not okay.
Yeah. I've been in a situation where I definitely feel that I was the, let's say, aggressor in that situation, unintentionally putting pressure on my partner to look a certain way without me even knowing it. Yeah. It's a crazy thing to realize when you realize what unnecessary negative pressure that creates, how unrealistic that expectation can be, especially when you're not promoting someone to be themselves. Yeah. You're trying to create something out of them, and they are just them. Exactly. So you need to firstly accept them for who they are. And that skewed me in valuing the person I had in my relationship, definitely. Yeah. And it's something I regret, but I'm grateful that I could learn from it. And I definitely agree with you, Zoe. Like, now more than ever, we as human beings need to be encouraged to be ourselves and to be human. Absolutely. And with that goes the eradication, I think, of these magazine covers and pictures of people that doesn't exist. It's not healthy. You're not happy. Like, let's just cut all this nonsense out and let's be real. And I think that's something that, for me, is important with the scenario. I don't know what you think about that, Kelly.
I fully agree with you. It's important to have that respect in the relationship. And exactly as you mentioned, how does it make your partner feel at the end of the day? If it makes your partner feel either insecure, inadequate, in some way or another, how can respect be a fundamental basis of that relationship? And it's difficult to build trust. So I think it's definitely an important conversation to have with your partner. And just like you mentioned, you took that accountability and you changed the behavior. If there's a behavior that's not necessarily helping the relationship, then what is also the point of keeping it? You know, it's important to address.
But definitely encouraging that individual to address this sooner rather than later. Absolutely. Because if you've noticed it earlier on, you should voice that that's not okay with you.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that. Well, okay, carrying on the scenarios, and I'm loving this conversation. Scenario 2 says, my wife is absolutely beautiful and she is quite confident, but I find it difficult when she wears very revealing clothing on nights we go out. She's a mother. Should she not be covering up? Is this okay? So many questions.
I'm dying to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
As a woman, I immediately want to say that, first and foremost, it is her body at the end of the day, but it is also important in the relationship to advocate for the health of the relationship. If this is something, once again, going back to the previous scenario, that makes your partner feel uncomfortable, it's important to talk about it openly, honestly, and also give your wife the freedom to also address how she feels and express something that she may be comfortable, and it may not necessarily be for male attention, but it may be something that makes her feel good about herself and confident about herself. So I think it's important, again, to open up that channel of communication, but it's not an easy one.
It's not an easy one. I've felt the situation, and I've been with a partner and felt like I don't want you to dress that way. And I'm thinking, I was like, why do I not? Like, it is your body. I have no control of it. So why do I feel this way? I realized for me personally in that moment, that was my insecurity coming out. I was for some reason afraid that I'm gonna lose your attention to other guys. That's me and my issue in the relationship, not knowing that we are good together, that I can trust you, that I can allow you to be you. That again was my issue in the relationship that I wasn't aware of. And potentially suppressing my partner, oh, you idiot, why? But this is something that, again, I'm grateful to have learned at the same time. But I definitely found myself in that situation a lot easier than I actually thought I would. Wow, it's a really alarming thing.
It happens, but it's great that you were able to reflect and actually realize, hang on, why am I reacting this way?
Yes.
So I'm hoping you can have that conversation with your wife.
Yeah, that's that is the important part about it. I think everything here involves conversation. It's like, are you honest enough to actually express your feelings?
Yes.
That can eradicate so much of these issues, but I think that's the problem with our relationship is that we sometimes don't want to disappoint or let people
Upset.
down. Yeah.
Or offend.
More scenarios, please?
Can we
I
squeeze
love
one more
this. Yes,
scenario
please.
in? So this is scenario 3. Kelly, before we got married, it was so much fun. We used to be out every weekend. Now all he wants to do is stay indoors, and it is so boring. I think I have fallen out of love with him. Is this okay? If I may jump in here, I think it's not okay to just be silent about your needs and wants. I think to allow that frustration to grow is not okay.
Yeah.
I think if you address it with your partner, they'll understand that you want to do more activities and not stay home.
Maybe he's not even aware of the fact that he's in this position. I think when you get into relationships, you find comfort. You
Yes.
find that like relaxing mode. It's like, I just want to chill. And you forget that you don't know what your partner actually wants, if they want that or not. So I think that's great. Like, we should be discussing this, right?
Absolutely. It should be open conversations. And I think it was Tammy in last week's segment that had mentioned that it's important to have those check-ins regularly. Because you're not going to know, your partner's not going to know you want to go out and live your best life and have fun if you're not communicating that. So that honest and vulnerable communication is important. And vulnerability is something that's hard, it's challenging, but it needs to be a conscious choice to also want to grow the connection, because love isn't the only thing that sustains a relationship.
Yeah.
Let's be real, it's a choice, and it's constantly communicating.
And is it okay for those feelings to change? Is it okay for that opinion and for my desires in the relationship to change?
I think it's definitely okay and it's normal, because we're constantly growing and evolving as people. So that change is something that's a natural thing that's going to occur, and it doesn't mean it's an unhealthy or dysfunctional part of relationships, but communicating about it and talking about it is what makes the difference, and being honest at
You
the same
need
time.
to have that
Coming through with the
honesty.
goods.
Well, we're going to continue this. Is it okay? We've got more scenarios to unpack, so stay tuned to your Feel Good Breakfast Show.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. It is your Feel Good Breakfast Show, and you are just in time as we unpack different scenarios within a relationship. Earlier, we spoke about deal breakers, but now we're asking the question, but is it okay? We've asked you to get involved with conversations because we have registered Counsellor Kelly Jacobs with us. So let's take a listen to this voice note that came through from Sipilele in Limpopo. Good morning.
Hi, Expresso. My question is it offensive if my partner likes pictures of other people who don't look like me on social media? Am I valid to feel like I'm not their type?
Pretty much similar to our first scenario from earlier. Kelly, is she reading too much into this, or what do you think, what would be the best advice to give someone?
I think exactly as we answered earlier too, that it's also firstly important to also be self-aware and understanding what emotions have been triggered within yourself, and also self-reflect in terms of what the reaction is so that you can express it to your partner. I think communication is such an important part of relationships, to establish that respect and that boundaries within the relationships. I don't think she's reading too much into it. I think it's important to have that vulnerable conversation with the partner and also express the needs. If it is a boundary that does need to be set, it's an important conversation for them to have.
It definitely is an important conversation. We have time for one more voice note. We've got one from Joshua. Good morning.
How's it, guys? Joshua here from the Northern Cape. So my partner, she makes me really, really happy, and she ticks all the boxes. But on the weekends, I still look at other people, and I feel like I end up fantasizing about being with someone else. Am I wrong?
Sure.
Oh, listen, Kelly, I'm going to let you take this one.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like his heart is all in.
Yeah, and I also do think that Joshua, firstly, quite a great thing that he is also aware of what he's feeling at the same time, but he does also need to be honest with his partner and communicate that in terms of if it is something that could end up in the termination of the relationship, it is something that's worthwhile bringing up in the beginning because his partners, I mean, as women, we have intuition.
We
She's
do.
probably going to notice certain things and behaviors.
But he's also breeding insecurity within his partner, which isn't fair. And I think to me, and sorry, Joshua, I'm surprised you didn't stay anonymous. I think you kind of like keeping your girlfriend and then you're waiting for something better, which is also very dangerous to be in.
Yeah.
I personally don't think it's okay, but hey, it's just my opinion. Kelly, thank you for joining us today.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you for sharing insight. And yes, maybe we can have more of these conversations where we ask, is it okay?